So the thing is, ever since I got to my 40s, I guess like I had a very blessed 20s back in my student days, and then a very blessed 30s when I was like that decade when I was living in Taiwan as a responsible adult and independent. And now that I kind of like got into my 40s, well, my 40s have been pretty miserable all these 5 years. I ended up like not getting the job. Like that was like I had 2 months of lovely interviews with them, all of that just amounting to nothing because of a computer crash or something like that, so technical difficulty. So I was really bummed about it. And the thing is, Where is Anne Frank, the first movie that I was let go of, went on to be nominated at the Oscars. The second movie that I was almost in but didn't get in, like Robot Dreams, 2 years later, nominated at the Oscars.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, okay, animation world, I get it. You don't want me. It's all right. I'm stopping by now. Like that, I'll just stop all I'm just stop trying. Or I'm going to do my own stuff. So that was one of the reasons I wanted to come back to Taiwan after all these like failures, like
Yeah, these things that happen that just, failures.
Yeah.
It's weird.
It's like a lot of people in the industry, in the animation industry, will tell you like, don't take rejection, don't take failures. Like personally, it happens all the time. Actors have the same thing, I guess, being rejected, not getting the audition and all that kind of stuff. It's the same for animators, it's the same for people working in the animation industry. So yeah, sure, you have to go with thick skin and not let it get to you and just like move on to the next project. I'm an artist, I'm sensitive about my stuff, and obviously like it's kind of hard to not take it personally, especially if things seem to go very well, only to be like get the rug like the rug pulled off on your feet
behind you,
at the last minute. So at that time I was like, okay, like forget it. I'm stopping to try to work for other projects. I'm just going to focus on my own stuff, write my own script. I've been like having 5 different series projects marinating in my mind for over like a decade at this point. So I was like, okay, maybe it's time for me to just go back to Taiwan, try to make a good use of the little savings that I have left, because life is so much cheaper here than in Belgium.
Exactly.
And I could live at my mom's place, not having to pay rent. So that was the idea. I wanted to stay here maybe like for like 6 months, trying to get my own projects kind of like on the ground, and then like maybe go back to Belgium and try to find some investments there. And then I came back here, and my mom was like, I feel like some weird stuff here in my liver. We went to the hospital. Turns out she had cancer for like stage 4, like
Stage 4
the last
of cancer.
stage. You know,
what kind of cancer?
In Chinese, it's dantang. But I don't know what's the English term for it. So basically that part has a big tumor on it. And yeah, like I was supposed to stay here for 6 months, and again it's been 2 years I've been here, you know. So that's the story of my life. You want to have plans, you want to go to a place with some stuff in mind, and life just that's so cute, let me show you something interesting. Let's just forget about plans. Now it's been like 2 years. I've just stayed on my mom's side just to, in case something happens, I can be here for a few months as it could be for 10 years, you know. So obviously at some point, well, I'm not that spry anymore. Like I'm 45, I'm getting 45 this year. It's kind of the last window for me if I want to actually make a project like as a director. And try to make something out of my career.
How do you feel about your mom, though, being ill at this point in time? And I know that you said that it's kind of up in the air on what you're going to do, but then you also mentioned you're 45. Is it kind of tied together in terms of your age and her age and what might happen or not happen? Do you feel any kind of stress in terms of your own livelihood and your own thing that you want to do?
So the thing is, ever since I got to my 40s, I guess like I had a very blessed 20s, back in my student days, and then a very blessed 30s when I was like that decade when I was living in Taiwan as a responsible adult and independent. And now that I kind of like got into my 40s, well, my 40s have been pretty miserable all these 5 years because, well, first 2 years were during COVID lockdown. So that's everyone. Like I'm not the only one, obviously.
You lost two jobs before
I
that.
lost 2 jobs that all went on to be nominated at the Oscars. So that was kind of like to add insult to injury. But yeah, no, like everybody went through the COVID pandemic. So yeah, no, that's not new. Everybody had miserable years during these 2-3 years. But then afterwards, obviously, when I tried to come back here to try to get some reprieve from that, try to get like a little bit more the Taiwan boost, you know, because I feel very comfortable living here, much more than in Belgium. And then like I had this news about my mom having her cancer. So now it's been like we spent 2 miserable years living with each other because we're not very compatible.
You're not close.
Not that we're not close. I'm much closer to my mom than I was from my father.
Do you feel obligation?
Yeah, of course.
So
it's part of my kind of like Chinese cultural heritage, you know, like there's this notion of 孝顺, you know, like trying to be filial, the filial piety. Obviously, my mom has sacrificed a lot for us when we were kids to try to it's the story of all Asian migrants, you know, like all the Asian parents have sacrificed a lot of their work and a lot of the time to try to get the money for the kids' education. So obviously, now now that she needs help, it's kind of my time to pay her back. So that's never was in question. Like I will do it. I'm not saying that I won't feel miserable doing it, but I will do it. It's just because obviously, and to add on top of that, we're living on top of a mountain, super remote from the city, so I don't see anybody anymore. I don't want to say I have no friends anymore, but I have no friends anymore. Basically, I don't see my friends anymore. So I don't really have any social life.
Yeah. So with all of that, I hear, and it's like, how do you deal with it? Is it like in your mind, you're thinking, always telling yourself, this is going to pass? Or, I mean, are you doing anything that helps you go beyond that? Or is it that you accept that this is your lot in life, you're miserable for these many years?
The thing is, I've been through several chapters of like being very much down in the dumps back in my life. First, when I dropped animation after my burnout, I dropped animation, I took up photography, and I spent a few really formidable years discovering the craft of photography, but financially speaking, I was really not doing well. So obviously I was like very much into depression. I had quite a few depressive bits for quite a few months. And the thing that kind of helps me go through it now is that I know I've faced that kind of situation before. I was like completely down in the well, and I always kind of bounced back afterwards. It's just that most of the time when I'm down in the well, it gets longer and longer and longer, and the bounce back is shorter and shorter. But it happens. Like I know that it happens. I know that when you're completely at the lowest of the lowest, well, at some point you can only go up. It sounds very cliche from Marilyn from a Disney movie, but yeah, cliche stuff are cliche because they're true.
Yeah, exactly.
Point. So yeah, I kind of feel like I've been through like a financial misery when I started my photography career, and then I kind of got out of it. Then I've been through misery through COVID, then I got out of it. Now I'm going through misery with my mom's situation.
It sounds so
I know
French,
at some point,
drama.
Yeah, I know at some point I'll get out of it.
Yeah.
So one way or the other, things always have their ups and their downs. And when I'm in the downs, I always kind of keep track of the fact that at some point it's gonna get better. Like I don't know how. Now I don't see it yet. I'm still in the dark of the tunnel, but I know that at some point the tunnel will end, and I just have to like grit my teeth and just like go through it. as much as I can. That doesn't mean that I don't have like miserable days
Yeah.
alone in the mountain in my room, but well, we have YouTube, we have like video games to get through it, we
Yeah.
have anime, so it's okay. I can manage.
So, you had a miserable life. No,
How
no,
to
no.
trend. And now a message from our sponsor.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you about martial arts because I know you perform your fan thing. You mentioned your Tai Chi teacher. Do you incorporate any of the martial arts or thinking or concepts when you're depressed and down in the dumps with martial arts and getting you out of that?
I wouldn't necessarily say I do it consciously, but I've done like Tai Chi, Qigong, and Kung Fu for like 2 years and a half, around like give or take. When I was in my 20s, back in the day where I became like this. So it did leave a very strong impression on me. I was also very much very fan of like Jet Li movies and Jackie Chan movies and Bruce Lee movies and all that kind of stuff. So I was very much in tune with not just the fighting side of martial arts, but also the philosophy side.
Yeah.
All the internal styles of Tai Chi Chuan, for example. So I knew about the soft and the hard, yin and yang again. So I kind of like, I'm also like born, like you were talking about your astrologic sign. I'm also born Libra. So balance is a very important thing to me, even though I'm like Chinese sign is monkey, so like it's the most imbalanced one. I kind of like it jumps all over the place. So I'm a little bit schizophrenic.
Yeah. Oh, you said it right, not me.
But no, the thing is, well, I guess the combination of all of them is kind of like find the balance in the motion, in the imbalance. Like find the balance in jumping from tree to tree to tree. And I guess that's part of how I am, like who I am as being someone who can be very chaotic in the way I speak and the way I joke with people. I can make fun of a lot of things. I don't really have any taboos, but at the same time, I'm also, at my core, I guess I'm someone who's very grounded, which can sound very ironic because I'm doing animation, which is supposed to be like crazy and doing all the stuff that your imagination can do. No, I need to be Cartesian about it. I need to be like very grounded, very scientific about it. Martial arts most definitely did play a very important part in my personality as grounding me. As finding balance, like because all the moves that we learn in martial arts, balance is everything. Like before being able to like throw a big punch, if you're going too much forward and your balance is not good, you're just gonna fall forward. Like or you're not going to be able to retract it and prepare the defense for the next coming punch. So martial arts definitely taught with my body how to reach balance, and because I know how to do it with my body, I try to do it with my mind as well. And also the thing with both martial arts and animation, I was lucky to kind of like have learned them at the same time in parallel, is that both of them requires a lot of discipline. Because there's so much to do in animation, so much. I told all the steps in pre-production, production, and post-production. And in martial arts, there's also so much to learn, like all the moves, all the timing, all the right angle, the right muscles, the right joints, all that kind of stuff, the sequence movements. So all of them requires a lot of like deep thinking and kind of like putting things in place, I would say. So I'm very good at like mental Tetris. And even though I can feel looking very chaotic in life, my room is a mess, for example, but it's an organized mess. It's like everything is at its place. I know exactly where is everything. And so again, it's like finding the balance in the imbalance.
Which is your life, actually, it seems like it. It's just trying to find the balance within the imbalance. And I have to say, I know like a lot of people say this and maybe a lot of people don't believe it, but everything that happens in your life happens for a reason. And all of these things, it seems to me, just listening to your story, is that the parts that you failed, I feel like it seems like kind of directing you back to Taiwan and directing you to do your own thing and your own projects. So maybe when we mention it briefly, this is your guidance telling you, and then you have to be beaten over the head before
Stop
you get
working
it.
for other people.
Yeah, so I mean, this is something to think about when you're moving on in future stuff. And who knows? Once you accept it, which is sort of like martial arts in something, you accept the situation, and you're going with that flow. So, you have a lot of stuff in your head, a lot of different projects. I don't know how far you've gotten into it, but definitely
not very.
well,
right now,
it's just something to think about.
Yeah.
If today's conversation made you think about your own journey, please like, comment, and subscribe.